Call this meeting to order.
This meeting will also be conducted by audio and video conference without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance at City Hall may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 1-513-783-1737 and use PIN number 249-158-823 and the pound sign.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hurt.
Here.
Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
Keenan.
Present.
Mayor Tomes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a moment of silence.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Actually, could you bring me the sheet, the sign-up sheet, please, from the podium? Thank you. We'll have public comment. Those are the signed up. Thank you. We have a good number of them here, so we do need to ask you to try to keep your comments precise and within 5 minutes, if you could, please. First up is Deb Knudis.
Hello, Mayor and council people. I assume you remember me from the last time I spoke to you. The concern was about American Water and customer service. I'm not going to go over everything that I said before, but I have been doing my own due diligence and doing some research, as I hope each and every one of you do. But I went to the Illinois Better Business Bureau listing and found 3 pages of comments just from 20 and 21 on the billing practices and the poor customer service from this company. And I say again, you know, we have a good system in place. I see no need for you to sell our water service and privatize it when it's only going to cause problems down the line. And also, I'm very concerned because it is a for-profit company, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you, you don't have to answer, but think about this. Do you actually own stock in American Water? And what is the driving force behind this for the city of Rock Island? Because I really don't think this is a necessary path to go down. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Greg Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you. I'm a longtime former Rock Island citizen. I'm here as a delegate to the Quad City Federation of Labor, and also I guess I would consider a local community leader as well. It's funny, you know, I'm a lot older than most of the people in this room. Over 30-some years ago, I remember taking a class at Blackhawk College where the actual subject we talked about was, at the time, what was called global warming. And they talked about how water was going to become the most scarcest commodity that we would ever have. And at the time, I was younger, and I thought, that's just not possible. There's no way that's where we're going to end up. Yet here we are, 30-some years later, and we are headed down that path. I don't think we can deny the effects of climate change and just how scarce water is going to be. And I think turning that over to a private corporation, I think is really just not the right thing to do. You know, yet here we are. You know, when privatization of public services comes into play, it's generally always the same playbook. A wealthy corporation comes in, they align themselves with a lot of wealthy business groups, oftentimes your Chamber of Commerce, and they come to a city council and a community and say, you know what, you have a problem that only we can solve. Now, what the problem that they're talking about this week and what we're hearing about is that you have a police and firefighter pension problem that just can't be solved without this windfall of selling your water to this private corporation. When the reality is that there's more of a systemic problem with funding of the pensions. I know Randy Tweed has been quoted, the city has met their obligations. The employees obviously meet their obligations through their payroll deductions. So even a one-time windfall that comes in is going to do nothing but simply delay the inevitable. You'll be back here again because the systemic failure of the pension funding is going to continue. So I guess I would ask you, what will they come after next? Will they then directly come after the police and firefighters? Or will they go after prevailing wage agreements and project labor agreements and say, you know what, we have to eliminate these because we just can't afford to have quality workmanship in our projects? You know, a little bit about Illinois American Water. I sat over here last month and I listened to a presentation. And first off, I want to go back and I found it very disingenuous that one of their representatives acted as if they were being magnanimous in how they were going to replace all the lead pipes in Rock Island, and they were going to take care of it, when the reality is that the General Assembly of Illinois mandated that to take place. And it kind of needed to be pointed out to them, if I remember right, that was the case. Between that and a recent poll here in Rock Island that basically was slanted in such a way as to demonize public employees while at the same time propping up Illinois American Water, I think you should really decide whether or not this is a company that you really want to deal with these sorts of actions. And finally, I just want to close with this. You know, part of their presentation talked about kicking the can down the road. You know, I would argue that if you were to sell this, your water services, you will be doing more than just kicking the can down the road. You'll be taking the road out from under a lot of people. Future generations will not be able to afford water services unless you still own them. And while I commend all of you for what you do in public service, these are incredibly difficult times to be serving the public, and I think you should be thanked and commended for that. I think you have an obligation to those future generations and also future city councils, that when this does happen, and there's an inevitability to this, that future city councils will be able to have the power within themselves and their control to make sure that those kinds of things don't happen. So that's all I say. I want to thank you for your time, and take care, everybody.
Thank you. Ann Sullivan.
Just really briefly, the gentleman that just spoke kind of said what I did. I don't know how many people get this little newsletter, comes out every other week. It's called the Hightower Lowdown. Jim Hightower, his dad was a senator for many, many years, and he puts out this sheet. He's talking, this whole one issue is about water and commodifying water. The problem is that Wall Street is starting to get interested in water. It's looking at it as a commodity like oil or gold or anything else. They're starting to buy up all these water, and owning the water, is making it more expensive for all users. Water, they look at it this way: water is greatly underpriced, so let's make it more expensive for all users, including us common drinkers, and water must flow to its highest use, in other words, highest bidders, so its allocation should not prioritize non-industrial farms, lower-income communities for public use, but rather high-tech facilities, upscale suburban developments, and high-dollar businesses willing to pay the most. And this is what scares me the most. We are going to be in a serious water condition. We're starting to see the effects of it out west already. They don't have enough water to run the electricity. They don't have enough water to put out the forest fires. I mean, it's going to just get worse. And with this, adding on to it, you know, in a while, we're not going to be able to afford to turn on the tap and have a drink of water. So that's just what I wanted to say. Be very, very careful about selling our water.
Thank you. Bill Sword.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us all to speak. On behalf of my family and I, and every citizen in this community, we are all personally against selling the water department. I spoke to Mark earlier tonight. I have spoken to almost 70 people, not mayor saying his neighbor. I have literally spoken to almost 70 people. Not one of these people are in favor of selling our water. It's an essential need. By allowing a private organization or a private business to have this, they control the water. We have two options: pay what they say or move out of the city. I'm a lifelong resident of Rock Island. I don't want to leave. I'm a proud graduate of Rock Island High School, and I do believe, I remember from my government class, there was a section in the Constitution that said, "We the people." We the people would like to see this. Personally, I can't speak for the people in the audience or anyone else, but my wife and I would like to see this go to referendum. If this is a huge decision, and it should not be made by 7 people. It should be made by the citizens of our community. At approximately 4 o'clock, I won't say exactly at 4 o'clock, I spoke with the pension representative from the Rock Island Police Department, Jamie Morris. Some of you may or may not know Jamie. I asked him about the article in the paper. He said, right now, we are the best we have ever been. The city is making their contributions and will have our liability funded by 2040. He has no concerns of any problems with the pension. At last, on behalf of not only myself, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren, we need to control our water and not have a private source do that. Thank you.
Russell Thomas.
Hi, everyone. Russell Thomas, City of Rock Island employee. Been here 33 and a half years. You remember we were talking last 2 weeks ago, just like these ladies here, this gentleman that just spoke, and also my fellow union member that just spoke a little while ago. You know, they pretty much already said what I was going to say, but water is a precious commodity right now. And by me working at the water plant, I see it and I know it because I watch the water levels. I know what's going on. I know where the reservoirs are north of us, how low they are. There's some that are getting down to levels that the lowest levels they've been at since 1935, and you can look it up. And right now, they just, projected the river below the lock to go down to around 4 feet. Then they'll bring it back up because they're constantly adjusting things because they want to keep things open for the barges. But it's getting worse. Unless we start getting more and more snowmelt up north, we're going to eventually, we may end up in the same type of crisis that the South is in, and the heat waves and everything else. And the good thing about Rock Island's water treatment plant and water system is that we pull our water directly from the South Roller. It'd be to the east of the South Roller on the Lock and Dam. We're 30 feet deep. So we can pull water. It's going to have to get pretty damn low before we're not going to be able to get any water. And we have 2 intakes there. Then we have our clarification building, which is approximately 20 years old. That's where our main water comes into. We can pump and clarify up to 12 million gallons a day. Since we've built a new filtration plant, we have been saving, probably, right now, we're running between 4.5 and 5.5 all summer long. And that's not been the case in the past because we were losing probably around 300, it was estimated that we were losing 750,000 gallons of treated water through the old plant. So now that pulsator building, that clarifier building that can do 12 million gallons a day, because there's 2 pulsators, each one can do 6. We have the potential that's already piped in the basement of that building for a 3rd pulsator that could do another 6 million. That would be 18 million gallons a day that we could pump and that we could send. So if other cities or other communities out there, if their wells dry up and their aquifers dry up, guess what? We can produce water for them. Okay? And our filter plant that we just built can treat up to 16 million gallons a day. Like I said, we're doing about 4.5 to 5.5, depending on what we're doing. And that plant's going to last for a long time. You're always going to have maintenance. You know, a lot of you guys talk about, Illinois American talks about infrastructure, and they're going to replace so much infrastructure for us. But you know what? The infrastructure they're going to replace is what we do now. When we tear up a street, when we tear up a street because we have state and matching funds, or we have enough for a capital improvement project that it's a terrible street, and we have a main that's underneath of it, we replace the main. And most of the time, we have to contract it out because it's a huge project. So our other unions get that work. But there's other ways, creative ways to replace piping that's underneath of concrete streets. There's ways to run new mains, and you just would cut off the old mains, you know, but you need manpower, we need more employees, we're going to need better equipment, but it's going to be a lot cheaper than selling it to a profit company that's going to control everything, and it's going to hurt the citizens, it's going to hurt landlords, it's going to hurt renters, and it's going to hurt businesses. And the end result is, it's like we've said, it's forever. You know, people have said the police and the fire fund, they just talked about it. It's not our fault that it wasn't funded correctly, and it wasn't your fault. It was at the state level, and we were doing exactly what we were told to do. But by 2040, it should be fully funded, or it may be extended, who knows? I mean, some of the other debt that's been accumulated wasn't your fault either. But it can be handled. How does an individual handle debt if they get too far in debt? They come up with a plan, and they start paying down their debt. That's what a business needs to do. That's what you need to do. That's what a business does. So, I mean, I said it before, you know, Judith has done a really good job of putting the numbers and everything on her website. I don't have Facebook, so I don't go into that stuff. But I read a lot of Judith's stuff, and I've been talking with Nick Hamlin this morning about a referendum, and people were talking earlier about the citizens voting. There's two ways to do that. And we have to do it before June 28th of next year. That's the election. One is the city council, and I don't know if the citizens can trust the city council to do that, to put it on there as a referendum and to vote on it for the citizens. And two is 92 days before the election, we have to get 9,000 votes. The citizens will have to, in Rock Island, to get that put on the referendum for a vote. But I hope that you wait that long before you decide to sell this system, because if you do, you're going to destroy this city. So, I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, I said it, you know, last time, the water fund itself is okay. Yes, we are raising the rates because everything is going up, and we have to start looking at building a little bit more of a capital improvement fund or a surplus fund for emergencies. That's going to be done. But you've raised the rates already. So now you sell to American Water. Now they have the chance to raise the rates even more. So, I mean, it's just crazy. And you think about it, there's some kind of motive there because, and I know Mayor cut me off on too long, but there's some kind of motive as to why they want to buy us. Because we can't really expand. The Iowa side, they've been over there for many years. I was a little kid when Iowa American Water came in. But they can expand. I mean, they're getting Amazon over there. They got huge subdivisions all over in Pleasant Valley, LeClaire, Davenport, Bettendorf. They bought the Bluegrass water system. They chose the city council, I don't think they have a city council, but maybe they do. Whoever they decided to sell to Iowa American Water. They ran water lines all the way from 280 all the way to Bluegrass. And that's because of future development. We don't have that opportunity. So who's going to pay the price for their, because they want to make money. They're not in this to not make money. So if they don't have future connections, if they don't have additional businesses, additional households to connect to, who's going to pay for it? That's right. So like I said, it's not broken. You need to re-look at different avenues. And, you know, me and Randy have had a lot of talks.
Summarize it up a little bit.
Okay, I'll wrap it up. Me and Randy have a lot of talks. The employees, managers have ideas, but they're always afraid to say something because of retribution. But COVID has stopped a lot of this, but I have always wanted to put a box in every department and talk to people and give them a ballot to fill out ideas and thoughts on how to save money However, whatever they think, in any department, I don't care what it is, but it's going to have to be a lockbox because we've tried this and they won't do it. They won't fill them out because they are afraid that managers, supervisors, directors will get a hold of it and they can't be truthful. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for your time. I will say we were out, one more quick thing, I want to say we were out in the 4th Ward this weekend, and everybody that I talked to was against it. Now, we weren't knocking on doors, so this is just people that were outside doing work, but they were against it. So,
Thank you. Cody?
I'm a new Rock Island resident. I moved here in April. I'm also the secretary for AFSCME 887 in Davenport. I just wanted to speak about the impact this is going to have on union jobs. It's going to cut a lot of people's jobs. And people are close to retirement that have been putting it in for a long time that can lose everything potentially. And I also wanted to talk about doing an RFP when there's really only one company that's going to bid on it. Yeah. It's a monopoly. They're going to be less accountable to the people that are using their services than a city government is. And that's why I'm opposed to the sale and the RFP. I also want to just quickly say that I support the police commission that is also on the agenda tonight. Got my master's in law enforcement from Western Illinois. It's always good to have more community involvement. If you can find good qualified people that are not in law enforcement but have some knowledge of it, there are a lot of people like that around here. Western Illinois has the 3rd largest law enforcement program in the country. And we have a lot of people involved in areas that know they're talking about, attorneys that would be willing to be involved. I think it's just a good idea to have an outside set of eyes so that an agency is not investigating itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Bridget?
Hello, I am here to speak about a couple of things tonight. The first one is something that I'm really excited about, and I wanted to commend everybody in the council and for when you had the study session back in June about the police commission. I was able to attend virtually and watch that. And I was really, really impressed by the dialogue, the back and forth, the questions, and the way that everything went. I think, Thurgood and his group did a really nice job of presenting the information, and then you all did a really nice job of, making sure that all your questions were answered. And so I was really excited about how that went, and I'm excited that it's continuing to move forward. I think, to echo what the previous speaker just said, engaged communities are healthy communities, as Thurgood and his group always say in their, in their outreach, and they're right. If we want our community to be a healthy community, we need to, make sure that we're collaborating together. And so I'm excited about the possibility of this, happening. And then also I think it's going to be something that, the rest of the Quad Cities can, they can see us as an example of, leading the way in this. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing that I wanted to speak about was the Iowa American water possible sale that's being discussed. And one of the things that, there's so many things, that go into this, and I've been I talked with my alderman about it over a year ago, when this was first happening, and there's a lot of pros and cons, It would be nice to have a windfall of cash and be able to balance the budget, and it would be nice to, have those positives, and so I looked, but there's obviously negatives too, and so I had to, look and do my own research to see, what I felt about it, and based on the research that others in other communities who have privatized their water have seen, the results that they've had. And, basically, I don't see any, other than the initial windfall of cash. It's such a short-sighted decision. I don't see any other benefits other than that initial windfall. The other thing that I was concerned about is I received a push-pull survey, which a lot of other people did too, and I don't know if everybody knows what a push-pull is, but it is something that Iowa American Water paid for, and this company, I think it's called Victory Research, they call and they pretend like it's a survey, but it's really like a biased, they asked all of these questions about, how I felt about AFSCME, and then when I, told them I had a favorable opinion, they said, oh, well, your neighbors don't feel that way, and, it was a very, it was very misleading, all the statements, and I said that to the poll person. I said, there's, these statements that you're making are misleading, and they're not, accurate, and I don't think this data is going to reflect, anything of real value because, these are misleading questions. And so that's one of the things that I'm concerned about, that Iowa American Water is going to use this data to say, hey, see, the silent majority supports the sale. Don't listen to all those people that come to the meetings and tell you that they do, everybody else does. But those, when a company pays for a push-pull, there's an agenda behind it, and it's not actual data. So I did just want to say, I hope that data is not, that you don't look at that data and think, oh, okay, well, I guess we can sell it. I thoroughly agree with everybody who said that a referendum needs to happen on this, and that's how you'll know I think that's how you'll know how people feel. Maybe people do support selling it. I haven't met anybody that does, but hey, if you do, you'll find out. You won't find out through a paid push poll, but you will find out through a referendum. So that's what I would like to see happen, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Bonnie Ballard.
President Ballard.
All this apparatus up here. Mayor Tones, City Manager Mr. Tweet, and the City Council. Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Mrs. Bonnie Ballard, President of the Rock Island County National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I stand before you this evening in support of the approval of the resolution to establish a Police Community Relations Committee. I would like to thank the resolution team, the elected officials, the city staff, and the city legal department for working tirelessly to develop the ordinance and approve the language. I have received the memorandum from the city manager, Mr. Tweet, and the responsibilities of the Police Community Relations Commission. I applaud the city manager for recommending that the city council approve the formation of the Police Community Commission. I can just visualize the primary purposes of this ordinance becoming a fruition, becoming a living document, resulting in a healed and progressive community serving all people, ensuring the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons, and to eliminate base race discrimination, which is the mission of the NAACP. Step 1 has been resolved with hard work, a lot of teamwork, a lot of working together, a lot of getting to know each other's background, a lot of time building relationships, which revealed trustworthiness, integrity, reliability, respectfulness, unity, follow-through attitude, dependability, and equal access. Step 2. The final step is to vote tonight, as recommended by the city manager, Mr. Tweet, to approve this ordinance so that the community residents can begin the healing process and therefore become a more trusting and respectful and progressive community, serving all. Step 3, put the ordinance process in action. I want to leave you with these thoughts of a great author, Mr. James Loewen, and I quote, "Telling the truth about the past helps cause justice in the present. Achieving justice in the present helps us tell the truth about the past." Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to address you this beautiful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake Ford.
Good evening, Mayor.
Evening.
Members of the council, my name is Jake Ford. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Quad Cities Chamber of Commerce. I'm here tonight to applaud the initial steps the city has taken in issuing a request for qualifications or proposals related to the privatization of the city's water and sanitary services. In our letter to this body, dated March 5th of this year, we outlined the reasons our organization believes exploring this opportunity through an RFP is not only reasonable but necessary. In that letter, we stated and continue to believe that the RFP process would explain in detail how a potential sale would benefit the city and its residents, and at the same time answer many of the questions brought forth to you by your residents and businesses that we talk to every day. Let me also say the Chamber has not and will not take a position on the final sale of the water and sewer system until an RFP is issued, candidates for the job are considered, and the facts of what such a sale would mean for the city's residents, workers, and businesses become clear. Alderman Poulos stated in a recent Quad Cities Times article, this is a decision to be made not on emotions, but on facts. We couldn't agree more and believe those facts would be best provided through the RFP process. Mayor Tomes has also noted previously that the city is simply doing its due diligence in exploring this option. Again, we agree an opportunity of this magnitude deserves to be carefully considered to ensure the best decision is made for the future of the city, its hardworking employees, and the residents it serves. Creating a long-term plan that keeps the city financially sound while also providing high-quality services and infrastructure is a worthwhile goal with many nuances that the Chamber applauds you for. But all available options to reach that goal should be thoroughly investigated. That is what this body is doing by taking these steps forward, studying the options you have available to you to make an informed decision. Anything less would be a disservice to the taxpayers you serve every day. We urge you to issue an RFP, review the bids, and put facts to paper to explain how this would impact all of Rock Island, its employees, the community, and the businesses that the Chamber serves. I want to thank you again for taking the initial step of issuing a request for qualifications to help put together a separate RFP. It's our hope this body will also vote to approve issuing a request for proposals for firms interested in acquiring the city's facilities. We believe that's how the facts will come out. We believe that's how these questions that we and these residents here have tonight will be answered. Issue the RFP, see what the bids say, put the facts on paper. Let's see everything that could come, good or bad, from the sale of the water and sewer system. In closing, I just want to say thanks to all of you from the Chamber for all you do for our regional economy. I know you all are partnering with other cities. The Chamber is always looking on a regional level, and you all have been great advocates for that. I also want to thank you for continued consideration of this critical topic on behalf of those you represent and for the businesses that we continue to speak to day in and day out that are considering what this would mean for them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Thurgood Brooks.
Good evening. Excuse me, Mayor Tomes, City Manager Tweet, City Council, City Clerk. Excuse me. I've been yelling all afternoon at my kids. It's game week this week, so I'm all here in attire, all sweaty. So you gotta excuse me again. Second time in a row I came like that. Go Rocks. I'm here today. First, I want to, on behalf of my team, looking back, trying to find someone. I think she's back there. She texted me. Some of us are here, and also the supporters that have supported us and what we're doing. And I'm here to, in some capacity, to speak for and doing the work for, so to speak. I want to appreciate and give kudos to all the council members who took time out of their busy schedules. Our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh ward alderman and mayor. I appreciate your time in meeting with us behind this police relations commission. It was important, and you showed that. And the work that we've done has only put us at this moment on second base for this. And by this, I mean this commission. And I'll pause before I go forward in stating clearly, my team and I are not naive enough to believe that this commission alone will solve all the community police issues that may be there. But we do believe that it will be a critical vehicle to begin to address multiples of those issues with the people that live here in the city. So I would appreciate, on behalf of my team, a vote of approval, as Mr. Tweet has put in his memo, because a vote of approval will be a third base. If you notice, we're not home yet. I don't play baseball. I never coached it. But I do believe you got to get home to score. And scoring, which is also in the memo, will be an implementation. But doing the actual work, which will be head off with the mayor. And I'm looking forward to having direct communication with my team. And we are open, as you found out, and the council has found out. We're very flexible with our time. I jokingly but seriously if I could, I would. Told Mr. Tweet in an email, if my team and I have to meet you on Pluto at 4 a.m., we'll be there. I promise. And so, while we do also recognize that a score and home base implementing this commission upon approval, hopefully, may not mean a week, maybe not even 2. It may mean a few months, because we want to make sure that how it's constructed and how this commission is formed, and the peoples on there meet the criteria in which we have laid out on the commission, because they will set the foundation behind the important work that will be done to build the bridge. And I want to be clear, and I say this in short, and I said it before, it's not us against them. I don't know who us are or them. If you believe that, you are the division. I don't got to say that again, just let it marinate. It's marinated. So I appreciate it. I hope that you all will think for the future, because it's not about what you're doing. It's not about making the life and your life grand and great while we want to have happy lives. Our mission here on earth is to make life better for our great-grandparents, or great-grandkids, excuse me, or great-great-grandkids. And I don't have kids yet, but my team and I are excited about making sure that my great-grandkids have a better life than I know I will have here. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody virtually that wishes to speak? Is anybody out there, Randy? Okay, all right. Nobody out there for their virtual? Any comments? Item number 7, then.
Minutes of the August 9th, 2021 City Council meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Yes.
Parker. Aye. Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan. Aye. Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 8, update Rock Island. Got a couple items here. We got the Dog Day at the park. Come celebrate National Dog Day with Rock Island Public Library on Thursday, August 26th. Join us at 8 a.m. in the Hasselroth Park in the Eleanor Wallace Dog Park at 2738 to 2898 78th Avenue West in Rock Island. There will be a story, dog craft, and a dog meetup. So bring your own dog and join us for a puppy party. Monarch March Sunday Fun Day. Wow, there's a mouthful. The Quad City Botanical Center will host a Monarch March on Sunday, September 5th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Join Gardener Dave as he leads the flutter of monarchs around the gardens and mimics their flight path. Participants will get to create their own set of wings before the flight that takes place at 2 o'clock. This event is free for members or with paid admission. Labor Day Parade. A lot of discussion whether it's going to happen or not, and at this point it is. The 37th Annual Rock Island Labor Day Parade will be held on Monday, September 6th at 9:30 in the morning. The parade will start at Washington Junior High and end at Rock Island High School. The 2021 parade theme is Joy and Peace to the World, and ask participants to develop their entries based on what has brought them joy and peace during the COVID-19 shutdown. At today's Labor Day Parade Advisory Board meeting, the board members voted unanimously to continue planning for the parade in lieu of cancellation, and encouraged participants to practice social distancing and mask wearing during their outdoor event. Holiday refuge scheduled. Refuge and recycling yard waste collection will be 1 day late all week during the week of Labor Day. City of Rock Island offices will be closed on Labor Day, Monday, September 6th. And also the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is then this weekend. So we have that happening. So let's get out and enjoy, but be safe. Oop, the Rock Island Grand Prix, I forgot about that one, thank you. Labor Day weekend, we have that. So I apologize for missing that. That's a Saturday and Sunday. The 5th and 6th, I believe, right? So it's a lot of fun too, the Grand Prix down there. It brings the people in from all over the country, from coast to coast. So it's wonderful. 4th and 5th, excuse me, thank you. I was off a day. 4th and 5th, Saturday and Sunday. So, that's the Rock Island update. Item number 9.
I have one thing,
Oh, yep.
Mayor. I had sent you an email.
Oh, shoot. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge a young man who has, done some miraculous things. Rashawn Lee, he is the National Golden Glove Championship weight class of 138. Can you please come up?
Yes, I forgot, I apologize.
So this is not a small feat. This young man has, he has defeated some really tough opponents. The Rock Island Boxing Club, they are doing some marvelous things. We have been keeping track for you all summer, young man. Keep doing your thing. We want to just take this opportunity to acknowledge you, to let the community know what you are doing and what the Rock Island Boxing Club is doing for the city of Rock Island. We thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to say a few things that you're more than welcome to tell us about it.
Coach? Hey, I'm putting you on the spot.
Coach? Or coach?
Coaches?
Coaches?
Thank you. Great day.
Coach VC comes up. He's been doing some wonderful work. They need help with financials to get this young man to fly all over the country. They need as much as they can. So if you see anything online with some kind of financial support for the Rock Island Boxing Club, it's going to things like this.
My name is Ramsey Vesey, and I started the boxing in 2006, and it was really to kind of be as a mentor to keep kids off the streets. Never imagined that we would have a national champion. I didn't think that far. But first of all, I want to thank you all for allowing us to come here and celebrate this with us, because this is something where he's making history. This tournament hasn't been won from somebody in the Quad Cities in over 17 years. So I just want to thank you for allowing us to come here and celebrate this. This is Jeff Perez. I brought him in to help us coach Rashawn after we come from the USAs, and he was a runner-up, place number 2. And then Ernest Upchurch is another coach that has been with me for about 10 years, helping me with the kids in the Quad City area. Jeff?
Yeah, Rashawn's a man of few words, if any words, if you can get any out of him. But I'll tell you what, the people in Texas and the people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they know where Rock Island is now.
There you go.
Rock Island, where in the hell is Rock Island? But they know where it's at, and they know what the Rock Island produces.
Right.
Thank you.
Is he going to say?
Say something. No.
No? And if you would you thanked us, but we got the easy part. Thank all of you for what you do in bringing out talents in individuals. And that's very important for this community. So thank you very much for your dedication.
Thank you. Let us know where we can give you money.
All right. Apologize for the delay. Item number 9.
Proclamation declaring Thursday, August 26, 2021, as Women's Equality Day in the city of Rock Island. Whereas the women of the United States have been treated as second-class citizens and have not been entitled the full rights and privileges, public or private, legal or institutional, which are available to male citizens of the United States. And whereas the women of the United States have united to assure that these rights and privileges are available to all citizens equally, regardless of sex. And whereas the women of the United States have designated August 26th, the anniversary date of the certification of the 19th Amendment, as symbol of the continued fight for equal rights. And whereas the women of the United States are to be commended and supported in their organizations and activities.
Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Mike Tomes, Mayor of the City of Rock Island, recognize August 26th, 2021 as Women Equality Day. In the City of Rock Island, in the commemoration of that day in 1920, on which the women of America were first given the right to vote, and that day in 1970, on which a national-wide demonstration for women's rights took place. So thank you. Is anybody here with this or involved with this? Nope? Okay. No.
We all are, Mayor.
There you go. Thank you. We have item number 10.
Presentation of the financial management report for the second quarter 2021.
Alrighty, I'll try to keep under 30 minutes here. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here to provide a review of the city's financial position for the first 6 months of 2021. So the benchmark percentage for June is 50%, meaning we like to see revenues at or above 50%, and the expenses or expenditures at or below 50%. So we're going to get started on page 4. Okay, so on page 4, this is the revenue, expenditure, and net position report, which provides the revenues and expenses for each fund or group of funds. So the first one is the general fund. So revenue is reported at 44% of budget. Of the $16 million in revenue receipts, $3.2 million is property tax, and $8.9 million represents state and local taxes. We will take a closer look at some of the specific revenues a few pages over. Expenditures are reported at 43% of the targeted benchmark of 50%, and the majority of city departments are reflected in the general fund. Then we have the special revenue funds. These are used to account for proceeds of specific revenue sources that are legally restricted to expenditures for specific purposes. For example, we have the Public Library Fund, and they received about 32% of its budgeted revenue at the halfway mark. The largest revenue source for the library are property taxes. As of June 30th, only the first distribution for 2021 was received. The next is the Tax Increment Financing, or TIF district funds. And that's a combination of 9 active TIF districts within the city of Rock Island. The main source of revenue for each district are the property taxes. Revenue is reported at 28% of budget, while expenditures are reported at 5% due to delays in projects. Then we have the Riverboat Gaming Fund. Revenue is reported at 17%, and this is due to the continued impact of the COVID pandemic. Expenditures are at 22% of the targeted benchmark due to pending transfers for debt service payments. The next one we have are capital projects and street funds. It's listed as capital projects, but it's a combination of the capital improvement project fund, which is supported by the motor fuel tax, and the street fund, which is supported by the gasoline diesel tax. Revenues were at 12% of budget, pending transfers from the MFT fund, while expenditures were at 5% as of June 30th, due again to pending projects. So we have other governmental funds. The new one this year, of course, is the American Rescue Plan Fund. And this was created to track expenditures related to this disbursement from the federal government. As of June 30th, 50% of the total allocation in the amount of $13 million has been received. And also, the interim report is due to the U.S. Treasury as of August 31st. And the good news is we have filed that report as of last Friday. So we are showing $0 in obligated expenses, for this reporting period. Right, then we have the Motor Fuel Tax Fund. Again, it's used to account for revenue from the state gasoline tax and expenses related to approved motor fuel tax projects. Revenue is reported at 32%. The decline is due to the continued impact from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Illinois Municipal League notes gasoline consumption has been increasing as COVID-19 related restrictions have eased and economic activity has rebounded. However, the pandemic accelerated a transition to online shopping and expanded remote work and learning. As a result, fuel demands in 2021 and 2022 is not likely to fully recover to pre-pandemic levels. Then we have the Motor Fuel Rebuild Illinois Fund. Now, this is a grant distributed by the state of Illinois for capital projects related to transportation. Actual receipts during this period totaled $856,715, which represents the first and second installments for 2021. Funds will be dispersed twice each year over a 3-year period. This is year 2. Rock Island has received $1.7 million of the expected $2.5 million award. Housing and Community Development Block Development Fund is used to account for costs related to the operations of the Community Development Block Grant. Revenue is reported at 32% due to the timings of the drawdowns, and expenses are reported at 13% due to delays in projects. The Martin Luther King Community Center Operations Fund is used to account for costs related to operations of the center. Revenues and expenses are both near the 50% benchmark. The Foreign Fire Insurance Fund is used to account for foreign fire insurance tax monies expended by the fire department for supplies and equipment as approved by the Foreign Fire Insurance Committee. And then we have the Community Economic Development Fund, not to be confused with the Community Development Block Grant. This is used to account for contributions and grants which support various economic development activities. Revenue is reported at 32%, pending transfers from gaming, and expenditures are at 13% of budget. And then we have the Debt Service Fund, which pays general obligation debt for non-enterprise funds, with transfers from the gaming fund. Interest is due in June, and then the interest and principal are due in December. Then we're going to move down to proprietary and enterprise funds. These are used to account for operations that are financed, and Tim's keeping up with me, page 5. Financed and operated in a manner similar to private business enterprises, where the intent is that the cost of providing goods or services to the general public are primarily recovered through user charges. So 4 of those enterprise funds would include water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste. And at the 6-month period, the revenues are near the target benchmark of 50%. The expenses are below 40%, but that's due to the JCI project. Then we have the Parks and Recreation Fund. 6 months revenue is at 39% of budget. 19% of the revenue comes from property tax. Sunset Marina is trending at 35% and 37% respectively. Then we have the Housing and Community Development Loan Fund. This represents the issuance and collection of residential and business loans. Revenues are slightly above the target at 52%, while expenses are at 2%, as no loan expenses were paid out during the 6-month period. Okay, has anybody fallen asleep on me yet? We're almost there. Internal service funds, as the word internal means, it's mostly providing services within the city from one department to another department. So instead of going to each one of these, we have the Equipment Maintenance Fund, we have the Engineering Fund, Self-Insurance and Employee Health Fund, Hydroelectric Plant. We have the Fiduciary Funds for the Fire and Police Pension, which are trust funds, and Section 125 Cafeteria Plan for employees' health-related expenses. So there's nothing really dramatic standing out there that I'm going to dwell on. So we're going to move on to page 6 and start looking at state and local tax revenue analysis. So we're going to start with income tax. So income tax is budgeted at $3.9 million for CY21, which is a reduction from the previous year budget of $4.2 million. Actual revenue exceed budget at 76% at this 6-month period. Let me repeat, it exceeds budget at 76%, while annual revenue projections is $4.9 million. This is a 25% increase from the current year budget. Illinois Municipal League actually revised their projections to show a 12% increase from 2020 to 2021. And two of the factors they mentioned was that this year they were funded at 100% instead of 95%. And then the second one was the unemployment benefits from the federal government that was taxable. So those two increased, the revenue. Then we have the replacement tax, also known as the personal property replacement tax. Again, this is some more good news for us. The revenue is reported at 92% of budget for calendar year 2021. The State of Illinois Department of Revenue released an estimate showing an increase of 14% from the fiscal year 2021. Again, one of the reasons stated that legislative changes affecting corporate taxpayers and continued improvement of economic conditions are expected to translate into strong deposits. All right, on page 7, we have the sales tax and local option sales tax. They are both at 51 or 55.1% at this 6-month period. So that's good, at least a little over 50%. Then on page 8, we have the use tax revenue, and that's on target at 49%. And I mentioned last time that was due to online sales as they continue to, make a greater percentage of the retail. Then we have municipal utility tax. Revenue is at 53%. Telecommunication, revenue is at 33% of the budget. And I think I mentioned last time telecommunication has something to do with landlines, so we continue to see a decrease in that area. All right. Food and beverage tax revenue is on target at 50%, and this is a local tax. So right now, like I said, we're doing pretty good to be on target at 50%. Gaming tax. This revenue is 29% of the budget with an expected shortfall. So, if anything puts a damper on this report, it's going to be our gaming tax, and I did have some notes here. So between 2015 and 2019, our annual receipts from gaming was over $4 million. For 2020, our receipts were $1.5 million. And of course, that's due to, the COVID impact. So far this year, we have received $1.1 million, and we're expected to receive $2.9, and that's just a projection. So again, we're still going to be definitely under the $4 million, and also under our budget for the year in our gaming taxes. All right, next page, 11, we have the general fund expenditures, and they are at 43% of the revised budget as of 6/30. Again, most of the employee expenses are within the general fund. And then the last few pages are our investment reports, and it shows that the city has investments of 49, almost $50 million as of June 30th. So that is all I have because my mouth is dry, so I can't talk anymore. But any questions I will try to answer.
I have a question, and I don't mean to be putting you on the spot. It's more for a public record question. We had looked at with the American Rescue Plan funding, in terms of what we do with that money while we wait to deploy it, we can invest it, correct? That $13 million?
Yes.
And we had looked at perhaps making a deposit into a local CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution. One of them in particular was Bridge Investments, correct? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to bring it.
Yes,
And so they didn't meet the qualifications, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
And that meant just they're fairly new. Was that part of it?
And part of it, I think, well, they didn't have the amount of cash on hand, so there's a specific amount of cash on hand. And then I think they haven't gone through the process. They expect to get there at some point.
The follow-up question I guess I'd have, and maybe to bring it to council, we believe, at least I do, in Community Development Financial Institutions, CDFIs. They operate loans to microloans to minority-owned businesses to women. They do a lot of things for our community. We have IH Mississippi Valley Credit Union and Essentia Credit Union that are both CDFIs, which I guarantee probably would meet the qualifications of holding some of the $13 million. I know that they could put that money actively to use while we wait and decide how we'll be using the money and deploying it. Just for a public record, could we reach out to IH Mississippi Valley and Essentia to see if they could hold some?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I was just going to mention, as of this $13 million, we already have those invested in 3 other investment companies, but, next year, the city will receive another.
And there's only, I think, $250,000 is the max we can hold with a CDFI, but that still can be put to use while we wait, in a sense. Just, from the Day Foundation, the work we've done with some of the CDFIs, I know just a little bit of capital boost can go a long ways. Thank you.
Broadly, you don't need to answer if you don't know. Do you know which types of funds are more like investments rather than cash? Like, for example, are our internal funds, like our employee health care fund, is that more investments or is that more liquid assets? Do you know? Like, what type of internal fund that the city has is more so long-term investment?
I don't know if you would consider those, because within internal, we're just exchanging money from one department to another. I'm not quite sure the correct answer for your question, but
No problem.
I can do a little more research on that.
I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Linda, I would just like to thank you for including the written portion or the written analysis of the financial report in your memo. That was great.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
I appreciate the thoroughness. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very good. Thank you, Linda. Item number 11.
An ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 3, Section 16-34 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing a water rate increase of 5.5% for all user classes each year through 2025, effective September 1st, 2021. Second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item number 12.
An ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 3, Section 16-85 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing a wastewater rate increase of 4.5% for all user classes each year through 2025, effective September 1st, 2021. Second reading.
Move to pass an ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item number 13.
An ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 5, Section 16-905 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing a stormwater rate increase for all user classes each year through 2025, effective September 1st, 2021. Second reading.
Move to pass an ordinance.
Second.
Moved to second, any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 14.
Claims A through C. A, report from the Human Resources Department regarding payment in the amount of $15,019.15 to David G. Morrison, City Attorney, for services rendered during the month of July 2021. B, report from the Human Resources Department regarding payment to Mr. Forrest Robb in the amount of $46,500.00 for a general liability claim. C, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment number 2 in the amount of $45,189.00 to Green Space Associates, Davenport, Iowa, for services provided from June 30th through July 23rd, 2021, as part of the 2021 sod replacement program, Project 2141.
Motion to approve claims items A through C.
Second.
Moved to second, any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries. D, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment number 1 in the amount of $7,500.00 to General Constructors Incorporated, Bettendorf, Iowa, for services provided July 23rd, 2021 through August 2nd, 2021 for the clarifier settling plate maintenance, Project 2843.
Move to approve claims item D.
Second.
Moved to second, any discussion?
I need to recuse myself due to the nature of my employment.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
6-0, motion carries.
Item 15.
Claims for the week of July 30th, 2021 through August 5th, 2021 in the amount of $681,510.22. For the week of August 6th through August 12th, 2021 in the amount of $1,329,014.65. And payroll for the weeks of July 26th through August 8th, 2021 in the amount of $1,572,391.53.
Motion to allow the claims and payroll.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 16.
ACH payments for the month of July 2021 in the amount of $4,730,926.66.
Motion to approve the ACH payments.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mayor?
Yes.
A resident asked if our finance director could please explain ACH payments. It's been a while since that question was.
Sure. Linda, do you want to explain ACH? Just
What an
People know what
ACH
they are
What?
when they see all those payments.
American Checking Housing Association.
I think it's
Automated
automated clearinghouse.
There we go.
These are vendor payments, and it's just those who decide to have their payments sent ACH rather than checks.
So it's like electronic payment.
Yes, yes. So like you direct deposit.
Right.
is what it
Thank
is.
you for
Yes.
explaining that.
Okay, Law, did we do roll call? Have we done, we haven't done.
No.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson. Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Keenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 17.
Purchase card claims for the period of June 29 through July 26, 2021, in the amount of $64,702.82.
Move to approve the purchase card claims.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 18.
Report from the Legal Department regarding approval to retain expert witness services in connection with 2 pending lawsuits arising from incidents at Steel Dam, recommending Gentera at a cost of $80,000.00.
Motion to approve payment to retain expert witness services.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 19.
Report from the Information Technology Department regarding the purchase of the CityWorks system annual support maintenance in the amount of $39,894.75 from Azteca Systems LLC of Sandy, Utah, which includes an addendum to move the software online and upgrade to the latest version.
Motion to approve the purchase and authorize the city manager to sign the addendum.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
So, Randy, this system, is this the one where, how can this be expanded to use citywide for what we're talking about, like the complaints and stuff like that? Is this that same system?
It could be expanded right now. It would just take time and effort.
Okay.
What I would like to do is wait until, as part of this ARPA process, we're looking at a communications plan. And if it's determined that this is the best way to receive complaints, basically Public Works uses this right now.
Right.
And if that's the best way, then we would look expanding it citywide, but there may be another solution.
So it's only for Public Works.
Well, anybody can use it. Mike, do we have an unlimited license on that? Do you remember? Or Tim?
No, I meant it's only for the Public Works Department type issues.
Well, right now, but all you have to do is add whatever you want. I mean, we could tomorrow add 50 issues.
No. I mean, like over the weekend, I got a call about a house and the
Right,
zoning issue.
Yeah, right now it is, but it could easily be expanded. But right now, it's just Public Works because that's the one that uses it. And I know we have some additional licenses. I don't remember how many. I'd have to talk to Tim, but it could be expanded, but it's a lot of work to expand it because at the same time, we'd want to refine Public Works and pull out some of the stuff that's been in there for 15 years. And I want to go through all that work, and then all of a sudden, there's a new piece of software we want to use.
Right.
What this does, this is also the work order software in Public Works. So they use it not just for call tracking and response, but also for anytime somebody goes out, all of those work orders are entered into the system. That's how they track their costs and the work that's been done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 20.
Report from the Information Technology Department regarding a proposal from Concentric Integration LLC of Crystal Lake, Illinois, to update server and desktop equipment for the wastewater plant computer system for the amount of $12,500.00.
Motion to authorize the city manager to sign the proposal.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 21.
Report from the Martin Luther King Jr. Center recommending extending the agreement for consulting services with Enterprise Community Partners Incorporated to October 29th, 2021, at no additional cost to the city.
Motion to approve the extension of the agreement as recommended and authorize the city manager to execute the extension agreement.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion?
I would just like to say I'm really looking forward to when they're coming, or if they're doing it virtually and making their presentation, Jerry.
Okay, September, whatever the second meeting in September is, I can't remember. That's a tentative date right now.
27th.
Yeah. So, should be good.
And that's a presentation of their findings or their plan?
Yeah, their findings.
Thank you.
Going to ARP from you.
Roll call, please.
Oh, yeah.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 22.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding a request for proposal to solicit assistance in the recruitment of a new city manager.
Move to authorize the Human Resources Department to hire a search firm to assist in the search for a city manager as recommended.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
I would just like to thank our city manager, Randy Tweet, for following up on my suggestion to seek advice from other city managers, and I appreciate that very much. I'd also like to request that while HR is in the process of doing this RFQ, RFP, whatever it's going to be, if we could invite Craig Malin to talk about what he had proposed in the email that Randy sent out to all of us.
Sure, we can definitely look at that. I would also, actually, I would like to, and I've talked to him, I'd like to bring John Phillips up, and he is on a City Managers Association board or whatever, but just to talk about the process that goes through, not his services, not the services of his organization, but just how he sees, and he and the organization typically see when they consult with other cities, the process that goes through.
Thank you very much. I am a senior advisor, excuse me, since I retired for the International City County Management Association and the Illinois City County Management Association. And in that position, what I do is provide advice to other city managers and city and county administrators, but also providing services to cities and counties when they are considering, let's say, a change in the form of government. I was involved with Freeport when they adopted the council manager form of government, and then I've helped out with Rock Island County when they hired the first administrator. So this is a volunteer position, but the main goal is to support professional, ethical, local government, which I think best serves the people in our communities. So I'd be happy to share a little bit of information. I'll make it brief. I know you've had a long meeting. First of all, I want to say I think it's an attractive opportunity. Rock Island has a long tradition of a good, solid council manager form of government. It's a full-service city. It's part of a larger metropolitan area. Therefore, I think that's attraction. You have your challenges, but every community has its challenges, and there are also opportunities that could attract candidates. One of the important things for candidates looking at a position like this is you folks. Are you together with a vision for what you want to accomplish in your community? And that provides then an opportunity for candidates to think about how they can help you succeed. So they want to walk into an opportunity where they can do their work and be successful. I'll just touch on some of the recruitment issues that come up typically. The first question is, I guess, on the agenda here. Is it you're going to do the recruitment in-house, or are you going to contract with a professional firm that is experienced in this business? And it is a real specialization. There are recruitment firms that do this business all the time. And I can provide some information, if you would like, some that I think are essential to be on the list, and then there could be some others that you might want to add. But just going through some of the steps that they go through. Well, first of all, one of the advantages is they go through this every day. You know, this is part of the routine. They know how to work with this elected body to come up with the information that they need to make decisions, to keep the process going, and also to identify candidates who might be interested in the position that might not apply otherwise unless they get a nudge from somebody. But some of the steps, first of all, a community profile is usually done, and that's when they would provide information, assemble information about your community, the budget information, Linda's good report there earlier, that kind of financial information, census information, financial reports, and also history of the community and of the broad area, the Quad City community. Why would someone want to come and live in this area? The second thing that I think is probably the most important is a position profile. And they would work with you to come up with, what are you really seeking? What are the particular skills that you think are most important at this point in time for your next city manager? Is it economic development? Is it good financial management skills? Are there capital projects that are critical that must be done? Is it HR and labor relations? Is public safety a big concern? Now, some communities, when I talk to elected officials, they say, yeah, we want all that. But the reality is some candidates have more skills in one area than the other. And it's good for you up front to identify what those are and come to some consensus to put together in that position profile. And the other thing is the characteristics. The personal characteristics are also something that you will want to consider. The leadership style of, let's say, the candidates, the personal qualities of the individual are important. One question that I think would be important if I was looking at a position like that is, do you want someone that's primarily in-house, doing internal work, supervising the day-to-day operations? How public, how much in the community do you want your next city manager to be? So those are kind of different skills, but important. But it's a balance that you ought to think through and determine what your interest is. Some of the things that, not surprising, the firm would work with you to put the job ad together, decide where to advertise, work with you on the salary range. The screening of candidates that come in then would be maybe narrowed down to 5 or 8, and then narrowed further, perhaps after some interviews, to come down to finalists, do background checks, scheduling interviews, handling the details associated with that. It's basically a firm that you would select, puts together a schedule, and then you review that schedule and approve that schedule, and then they help you keep on track. One other thing that is done after you would make a selection is help you negotiate an employment agreement. Those are very typical for people who are hired into these positions, and that would be another thing that they would help you with. Typically, it's about a 4-month process. It can be a little shorter, it can be a little longer. But I will say that what happens too often is things come up, or decisions aren't made when they really need to be made, and it delays the process. Or maybe there's a problem in scheduling interviews. You know, all of you are involved in this process, and so getting schedules together with candidates that are finalists sometimes is a bit of a challenge. So main thing is to move it along, make the decisions on the position profile, make the decisions that come before you to keep it on track. Because I know that guy over there doesn't want to be, he's going to be gone, and you're going to want to have a replacement. I guess pretty much only other thing I wanted to say is I think I sent to Randy a guide for recruiting, which is sort of like what I've just gone over now. There's a guide for that the Illinois City County Management Association has produced, and I can provide that, and Randy could provide that. I have some RFPs if that's of interest, but you guys do that all the time, so you may not need that, but we can, to solicit firms. And I've got the identification of some firms that I think are very important. So anyway, just any questions that you might have?
I just wanted to state for the record, at the last council meeting, I have had a conversation with you in between the meetings, and there was a conversation about council members wanting John Phillips' involvement, and I think we cleared the air. I'm very grateful for your contribution to help us figure out what to do next.
Okay.
And the services of the, are we members of this association?
Randy is a member of the, it's
kind of
really
like a
the city
regional
manager.
elder, like a regional elder. You kind of provide us as kind of the experience, just guiding us through the process.
There's a lot of resources available through the Illinois City County Management Association and the International City County Management Association. It is good, I think, for your next city manager to be a member of those associations. Not only do they have a lot of resources, but you build so many different connections with others in different cities that could be of real benefit to your city. A lot of times, there are other things happening in other communities that you can learn from. So I think it's a valuable
So you stay
association.
involved in the association because it was valuable for you when you were a city manager?
I was very involved in the Illinois City County Management Association. I was president of the association when I was city manager here.
Okay, cool.
And I always found it of value. As I said, if you needed something, you knew who to contact, because maybe Normal, Illinois, or Peoria or somewhere else you figured we're doing something, and you had a contact there, so you could contact them and make it a little bit easier to get the job done. So I would encourage that kind of collaboration with colleagues. I think it's best for the community and best for the citizens.
Very helpful.
I'm just saying in closing, this is one of the most important decisions elected officials make, because your person you hire is your primary person to help you implement your goals, your priorities, the things that you want to get accomplished. So it is very important. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Randy for his years of service to our country and to our community. Very much appreciated, and thank you very much. I'm a Rock Island resident. Feel free to contact me anytime.
You got it.
I have one
Yes,
question for
go ahead.
John. John, would you prefer to share those search firms that you're recommending when you send us that guide for recruiting, rather than discuss them?
Sure.
Now?
You want me to email them to Randy?
That'd be great.
Or, there's nothing to hide.
If you send them to me, I'll send it out when I
Okay.
send out that other
Yeah.
documentation.
These are ones I think should be on the list. Like I say, there could be more. I'm not saying it's comprehensive, but these are some that I think that should
Your
be, because
recommendations.
you are relying on, one of the advantages is these firms to know people who might be interested, so you want to probably consider that when you select a firm. Are they in touch with members who might be interested in this position? So,
Look forward to those recommendations.
Do you recommend, John? Oh. Do you recommend, I know that Moline went through several searches, do you recommend Randy or HR getting feedback from Moline on their experiences?
they're pretty unique, what they've been through in Moline.
What they've been through?
Yeah. They used, through the years, they've used two search firms. Baker Tilly was the last one, and then Gov HR was very much involved on some of the
Yeah.
searches as well.
Yeah.
And but, you know, a lot of this really, the firms will propose pretty much the same level of services that I went through. This is what you're going to see. I wouldn't expect the rates to be that much different because they spend about the same amount of time. The key is really you folks to come together on what you want, work with that firm, make a good case out there for candidates so that they understand this would be a good opportunity. You know, with all of the difficulties that happen in Moline, candidates might have been discouraged from applying. You've got a good situation here. You want to build on that, and that will help you to attract stronger candidates.
John?
Okay? Anything else?
Nope, thank you very
All
much.
right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, John. All right. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Lord help us.
Item number 23.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of 2 series of unlimited tax general obligation bonds. Series 2021A for the refunding of all or a portion of the outstanding taxable general obligation bonds, Series 2012A, and the general obligation bonds, Series 2013A. Series 2021B for the refunding of all or a portion of the outstanding Illinois Environmental Protection Agency Water Pollution Control Program loan payable of 2012, Mill Street Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion Phase 2, and IEPA Water Pollution Control Program loan payable of 2016, Farmall Storage Tank Wastewater Project. First reading. And a note, a second reading will be held on Monday, September 13th, 2021, for final consideration.
Motion to consider the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 24.
Report from the Fire and Public Works Departments regarding the approval of the 2021 Rock Island County Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation Plan and adoption of the resolution.
Move to approve the draft 2021 Rock Island County Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation Plan and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
I just want to thank our Public Works Director, Mike Bartels, for answering my questions about the levy, and all of that it entailed as a new person.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 25.
Report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment in the amount of $72,072.00 to increase revenues and expenses as a result of a grant awarded through HUD for the De La Cerda House Permanent Supportive Housing Program.
Motion to approve the budget adjustment as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 26.
Report from the Finance Department regarding an adjustment to the 2020 Neighborhood Housing HUD CDBG budget in the amount of $26,000.00 to cover additional project costs for the Targeted Area Repair and Rehabilitation Program.
Move to approve the budget adjustment as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
This isn't for the housing project, is it?
Which housing
The
project?
houses?
No, these are for 2 rehab projects that they're finishing up from 20.
The
There was
targeted,
a roof and a porch.
Got it, thank you.
the targeted area repair and rehab program was the program that we put in a few years ago that targeted certain areas within the city so that instead of just slapping homeowners who couldn't afford to repair code violations anyway with another fine and not fixing the home, now we work with them through, I think, a forgivable loan process to repair the home so that now they have a livable home and they can afford it.
Teed that one up for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dylan.
Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
27.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding an amendment to Chapter 3, Section 3-10 of the Code of Ordinances, allowing grocery store employees and employees working at facilities operated by the Rock Island Parks Department with a Class L liquor license, ages 18 to 20, to sell alcohol as a cashier through the course of their employment. First reading.
Move to consider the amended ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 28.
Report from General Administration regarding the establishment of a Police Community Relations Commission.
Motion to approve the formation of the Police Community Relations Commission and to consider the ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I would like to make a comment, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I had some discussions this week with some individuals, tried to reach out and say, hey, I'd like to help in the process because I know Alderperson Robinson was very committed, and I have a lot of respect for that, to this commission. The commission, as I said, and Ms. Pollard, thank you for your comments tonight. I thought they were very eloquent, and they pointed out the number of people that were involved in the changes that were made, including our legal department, our city staff, alderpersons, even the police department, reaching out and coming to a consensus of how this can work and how we as a community can come together, and how this is the first step in what we hope will be a healing process that was, whether you agree or not, long overdue. So I am a man of my word, and I come from a generation where you give your word that you're going to vote and support something, that you maintain your word.
Very good. Any other comments, discussion?
I have a couple comments, please.
Yes.
So first of all, I'd like to say I am in support of this commission as it specifically pertains to strengthening police-community relationships. This includes all races and ethnic groups, genders, economic standing, and ages. However, as this commission moves forward, I continue to have some concerns. I would have preferred a more detailed document which outlined specific procedures, and I based that on just looking over some similar programs in Champaign and Urbana. So I will say, at the beginning of this, I was against the Police Community Relations Commission document in its original form. Let me clarify that. And I thought it was important to inform the creators of the commission as well as the rest of council that the document presented specific legal challenges, as Alderman Poulos had stated. But to be clear, I am in support of this as of now, and I'm hoping that we can build some common ground going forward.
Okay. Any further comments? If not, roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes?
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 29.
Report from the City Clerk's Office regarding a request from Community Home Partners to close 8th Street between 5th and 6th Avenues and 6th Avenue between 8th and 9th Streets on Friday, August 27, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. for a bike rodeo in conjunction with the Rock Island Police Department.
Move to approve the street closing request as recommended.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Person Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Keenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 30.
Report from the city clerk's office regarding street closing and sound amplification requests from Evelyn Day to hold a block party on 43rd Street, 20th to 21st Avenues on Saturday, September 11th, 2021, from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Motion to approve the request as recommended.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I have personal invitations that each council member will be getting addressed to them to come and join us for this party. This is the party of the 7th Ward you must come to.
It is a great party.
All right. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Keenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 32, other business.
31.
Oh, 31, I apologize. Glad rushed in too fast.
That's an important one.
It is. All right, item 31.
Report from the city
Sit down,
clerk's
Hector.
office regarding an activity permit application from Rock Island High School to hold their annual homecoming parade on Friday, September 24th, 2021, from 3:30 p.m. to approximately 4:30 p.m.
Move to approve the event as recommended.
Second, and go Rocks.
Moved in second. Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Keenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Now, item 32, other business. Anything good for the cause?
I do have something.
Yes.
I need to read it because it's kind of complicated. This is just my opinion, but I'd like to discuss the RFQs for the consulting firms for the 26.5 million ARPA funds. After reading through all of the RFQs, I'm disturbed by the fact that we're going to spend between $200,000 and $400,000 on a team of people who will look at a process for us to decide how we are going to spend the funds, not actually help us decide what to spend them on, but merely set up a process for a decision. I feel this is an unnecessary expenditure. We're going to have to spend funds on 1 to 2 people to manage the fund expenditure and compliance reporting, but to use the funds to help us decide how to decide, I feel is wasteful. I also feel that an option we should look at is to use part of the ARPA funds combined with the infrastructure funds coming through Congress to upgrade our water infrastructure and not sell the water. As I look at the decision to reduce water allocations from Lake Mead to Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico due to low water levels in the Colorado River, it more than reinforces for me that the city needs to maintain control of our water so that our residents have access to that vital resource. I would like to not consider the RFQ submitted and have council members submit their top 5 suggestions for spending the ARPA funds, staff to submit their suggestions, and vet these at a future study session with public input to follow at citywide meetings.
I would like to concur partially with Alderwoman Swanson in that I don't agree with spending $200,000 to over $1 million was one of them. The allocation from the federal government, it's a once-in-a-lifetime, like almost like an inheritance for the city, and we need to spend it wisely so that we'll receive benefits for years, decades to come, hopefully. And I just think it's way too much money to be spending on a consultant to help us identify priorities for, it just, no, I agree.
I think we have a lot of expertise around the table that can help identify those needs. With our resources here, I agree completely.
I suppose I will be in the minority and say that I think we should really consider that which we have requested from these offerers. Now, I would agree that there's a lot of them that did not really understand what it was that was being asked of them, or at least as I understood it.
Exactly.
And so, thank you, Alderperson Swanson, for initiating this conversation, because we really should have a conversation about what exactly we are procuring here, right? And in as much as I would like to use the, I thought I read one proposal was like 100,000. I don't really, it doesn't matter. The point is, I would like to use all of the ARPA money for the direct purpose that it is, building a road or whatever we end up deciding to use this money for. However, I liken it to hiring an architectural and engineering firm before you go and build a road, right? Because we need to make sure that we have thought out in ways in which we typically do not think. Not to say that we don't think in this way, but the point is to get a plethora, a variety of ideas here to address the impediments and the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Right? Again, that was what we were procuring, is the assistance in developing a process by which we identify how we've been impacted by the pandemic, and how can we go about making a decision as to what to prioritize. Because there's an infinite amount of needs, but how do those needs align with this, I don't want to say strategic, but the intentional way in which the pandemic affected us. Basically, what I want to avoid here is us using $7 million to finish a park in our downtown, like some of our neighbors have decided to use, right? Finishing a park in the downtown, in my opinion, doesn't really do anything to address homelessness, unemployment, public health, the real impacts of this pandemic. And I'm really worried that if we just make the decision of, okay, everybody throw out your top 10 ideas, we are going to prioritize what we prioritize, right? And that's we're not bad people for that. But the fact of the matter is that I was not impacted by the pandemic. I got to work from home. I got to take a couple months off of work, actually, and take care of my kids. My perspective is very different from that of probably a number of my constituents. And so how do we develop a way to bring those stories and experiences into the decision-making process? Because I think that is the constituency that we need to have at the decision-making table. And so while I agree, I would love to just take this money and spend it on direct whatever it is we spend it on, I'm really concerned that in the absence of having a long-term community recovery plan, the very thing that FEMA says you should do after a natural disaster has devastated your community. Now, whether this counts as a natural disaster or not, I don't know, but it's pretty close. Without that long-term community recovery plan, where you take the time before you start spending money to think about, okay, how have we been impacted? And how should we make these decisions? I'm really worried that we're going to have a fancy park in our downtown. And the lines at Christian Care are going to be even longer. And I don't want that to happen. Thank you.
And I'd like to clarify, I don't think you are in the minority, Alderperson Parker. I agree with you, too. I think we have to also acknowledge that all of these RFPs or RFQs that we've had, they're all negotiable. No one has ever done this before. There's no playbook for here. We've been told that. And all of us, I assume all of us, I know you have, and Alderperson Gilbert, and I know I have, we've spent a lot of time crafting this RFP for these proposals that came back in. We provided the city manager input. It was back and forth. So I don't also want to be cautious that we just don't throw them all out because they all just don't, I mean, we have to at least do the due diligence and see if there's some negotiation because they do hit a lot of the points that we asked them to do. Now, whether it costs money or not, we need a supportive assistance. I work day jobs in philanthropy. This is sunsetting $26 million over the course of 3 years to deploy it in a way that will create transformation that is ways from economic to social to spiritual to physical. And that requires all of us understanding what is going on in our community. And from a place of experience, you need some administrative experience and administrative help. And that costs money. We have 37,000 residents.
So I agree with Alderman Parker in that we need to have conversation about what our priorities are. Is it housing? Is it water, sewer? Our nonprofits, our businesses, especially in the hospitality and the long-term care industry who've been decimated by COVID. And I also think we need to arrange forums for the community to have that same conversation, not just how I was impacted with the handout, but how can we get creative about solutions? And I still believe that the best process for then, once we identify priorities, is having an open RFP process for city staff to apply, for anyone who wants any money, you have to apply, you got to check these boxes, you know, to even be eligible.
Come to
And
us like
then we
everyone
get
else.
into more discussion of, okay, how do we spend this money? How do we want to spend it?
I agree entirely. And that is what, and perhaps we're not understanding what each other are meaning by long-term community recovery plan, or
That's
what
exactly
we're procuring here, right? I mean, to me, that is what would be spelled out during the process of developing the long-term community recovery plan, is, okay, what are the criteria for which people, businesses, nonprofits can apply to use some of these funding, right? Because I think that we have 37,000 people in this city. It's just kind of like that email that I sent out a while ago about strategic planning, about how it can't be command and control, and the 8 of us, while I really respect all of you, I don't think that we possess all of the answers to the challenges that we face.
Yes,
And so how do we bring the ideas out of our community? And that's what I understood was what we're trying to develop. Because right now, we don't have a process to do anything other than what we currently do, and we can hardly agree on how to do a strategic planning process. And so by bringing in somebody who's familiar with what a long-term community recovery plan is, as FEMA defines it, I would agree that a lot of those RFQ responses I threw out because they didn't get that. They want to hustle their project management and all that stuff, right? But perhaps the next step is to identify a few of the closest responses to what we understand and what we want. Either send them questions or bring them in for an interview and really hone down and be like, okay, cut your stuff because this is really all we're looking for here. Or have a dialogue with them. I don't know.
I would agree completely with you, and I would add that the second component piece is something that I've stated from the beginning. It's called asset-based community development. All of the problems that are in Rock Island can be solved by the people in Rock Island. The solutions are found here. We just have to go look for it.
Well, but and I think that's correct, and I think we could.
That's the second piece of the, I'm sorry.
But I'm not sure.
I wasn't finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the second piece of what Dylan was, Alderperson Parker was referring to. We need that long-term recovery plan. But that second component to the solution, it's called asset-based community development. We've been funding it since 1986 at the Day Foundation. It's called Community Caring Conference. They have the ability to find the solutions to our community. However, they can't do it on $10,000 a year budget. They need significant capital to hire the resources to be able to do the work with in partnership of the city. But that's the asset-based community development component that the RFQs, I feel, didn't answer, which I hear you saying, Dylan. Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, and I was looking, I agree that with Judith, and I think that Alderwoman Swanson, I think we need public input. I think, once again, just like the water, sewer, and everything else, I think this is a big enough deal that we need to have those public meetings and get some input from the citizens, and help with, before we even set our priorities, is you talk to the public and see what they have to say. And the public they don't have to be just, I'll say, citizens of Rock Island, as much as it affects them, but there's business owners too.
Yes.
And nonprofits that don't technically live in the city or whatever it is, that we need to get all that kind of input to help us. And I think with that, then I do think that for the most part, the people sitting at this table have a lot of knowledge and abilities to prioritize and work on it. It takes some good conversation amongst us and digging into the details and listening, but I think we have the ability here to do that without having to spend this money. I think that the citizens are going to get very frustrated if we go spend $150,000 or whatever it is. They're going to say, wait a minute, that money could have been used to help a lot of issues, and so I think we're going to catch some heat by spending that money on planning.
Will be the return on investment, too.
And so,
we'll see if we can.
So I agree. We do need to figure it out, I'll say it was tonight, we need to figure out how to come to the conclusion, give the city manager the direction of which we want to go. We can't leave this hanging week after week, as we've talked about in the past. We need to come to a clear decision which direction we want to head, so we can then do the planning for that direction.
I don't think I'm able to at this point without hearing more discussion on it.
Yeah. And I don't, excuse me, Moses, or, I don't know if you guys thoughts, or,
No, I've been saying that from day one. We need to get the data, and then you have to let the data drive where we need to go with the discussions. Whatever happened with the unplug that we were trying to.
that's, yeah, we're waiting.
Well, so part of this plan was to develop a communications plan, and the unplugged and all of those citizen meetings, surveys would all be part of that. That's what we are hiring someone to facilitate that. And I would still recommend you hire someone to facilitate all of that.
That's what I think I asked for a while ago.
But you could do that for less than this kind of dollars.
Yeah, there was,
That was part of this,
A long
that
time ago.
communication plan, not just that input, but then moving forward, how to keep that open communication back and forth. That was something the council asked for in this RFQ. So that's why nothing's been done, because council decided to move ahead with this and have those meetings be part of this process.
Okay.
so
I
there
don't
was
recall it that
one,
way.
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, there was one proposal that had, I think, more creativity in identifying different ways to get the public involved, to hear how COVID has impacted them, and then use that same opportunity to start getting ideas for creative solutions and not just, yeah, we want some money kind of thing. But the price tag, I just still couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 200,000, over 200,000. And I don't know.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a question of whether it will add value to what we're trying to do here, right? I mean, will it add enough value to justify the expense? Because when you build a house, hiring an engineer adds sufficient value to trying to build a house that you pay for the architect, or whatever. Take your pick of an example. But the question, I mean, I don't like having to spend whatever it is to hire a plumber to fix my sink. But I mean, from all my conversations that I've had with the city manager, we don't have the capacity internally to do this to the quality that I think most of us want. And so,
So those prices that were in there were just estimates based on how many hours they thought. So part of, if you have some candidates you like, part of that discussion would be, you know, you're more extensive than we want. We want you to pare this back, and which would affect the price. You know, that's all part of the negotiation. These were just estimates because they didn't know how many hours it would take. And until they come and meet with you, there's no way to tell that.
Well, and I think the other thing is, we have to identify what is the purpose of these funds. Personally, I feel these funds are disaster assistance and recovery funds to help the city recover from a disaster. I don't feel that these funds are for the city to set up their own granting foundation where we're going to grant out these money to whomever needs it. And I think there's a big difference there. I mean, half the RFQs, I felt were setting up a system for us to process grants for people coming in. And personally, I don't view this money that way. There was one that came in that addressed FEMA and using them as disaster assistance funds, recovery funds, and I guess I feel that's what they are, and that, you know, we can use them for the water, we can use them to put broadband through in the city, we can use them for our capital improvement plans, the dire ones that we had to put on hold and not use. I mean, to me, that's where the funds go, help with the homeless problem, which we are going to have a big problem with that. But to me, that's where they go, instead of setting up a system where we are processing grant requests.
Yeah, which we can talk a lot of the different, I'll say, processes. I mean, once again, you talk about priorities and everything else. I think the number one issue with most people I've ever talked to in the city is streets. I mean, how many times, is constantly streets. And I think that, once again, reimbursing the city for lost revenue, approximately, whether it's $5 million each year for the 3 years or whatever, that puts $15 million into the general fund that needs to be spent, that can be spent for streets, or other things like that. It's a little more unrestrictive. And so there's things even besides social issues, there's infrastructure issues that way that are huge that we've been continuing to fall behind on. We just don't have the fund, I mean, obviously the funds, continuing to fall behind on, that we could make a major impact for the next several years in streets, is an example. And so, and that affects a lot of people.
Well, Randy, if you're looking for direction, Randy Tweet, I'm not opposed for us spending any money to help someone guide us in spending this money, which in our nation's history is the most unrestricted discretionary power in local government has ever received from the federal government. So having some assistance to help us with that, I think, is worth the expense.
So where we are now is, what we had scheduled was our next meeting, which is September 13th. That would be when whoever you wanted to interview would come in during the study session. That's what we have tentatively scheduled. So if we're going to maintain that schedule, and we can prolong it as long as you want, and not, do it at some later date.
No.
But if you want to do it then, we should probably make a decision tonight. Do you want to interview one or two firms or three firms, and I'll contact them and say, likely, what's going to come out of this is something very different than you've proposed, and if you need $180,000, you're not going to get it. Are you still interested?
That's good, sure.
I would agree with that.
So what you're saying then is if we do have this interview, Alderperson Swanson suggests that we not hire them, there's nothing.
We're not binded by that.
Yeah, you're just coming in, there's
nothing tying us, it's not a contract or anything. We can still go with that. We decide, no, we don't, thanks for applying, but you really don't meet our needs.
Ideally, if you could narrow it down to two, that would give you 45 minutes apiece, 20 minutes for a presentation.
During the study session time?
Yes. We could do it other times, but it's tough to get this group together.
Sure is.
Right, no.
No, that makes sense.
Right.
I view it as, it's a hot topic, the water and sewer deal. You need to be educated on your decisions, and to get educated in the decision would be to sit down and talk with the top two or whatever it is, and we can always make, obviously, the decision could be neither, or we've all see the light and say, this is the one, but we're not out anything short of time.
I agree with that.
I'd like to stick to the schedule that we have asked staff to stick to.
We need to get those two firms to you then.
Oh, well, this week, because, if they're local, it's probably pretty easy. They all know the date of the 13th, so everyone should be ready. If they're local firms, they don't have to make any travel arrangements.
I'll get you my information this week.
Well, let's think through, how are we going to select the top two?
Well, so I sent out a sheet that you could use for ranking if you wished, and you could send me your top choices, and I'd pick out of all those the top two. I'd put them all together.
Perfect. I'll get you mine today.
Okay.
So I know who, everyone picks what order they want, or pick the top four, and out of that, we'll figure out numerically which one is
Your
one
top
and two.
Right.
Okay.
Your top four are not all equal, it's prioritize those four.
Yeah. Yep.
So I also think in conjunction with this process of identifying top two to invite for further questions, I think we need to have a more in-depth conversation on what each of us feels the purpose of these funds are, or how we think we should use them, and not wait till 9 o'clock during the meeting, but maybe have it on the agenda, maybe after public comment, and discuss that, because I feel we have quite a spectrum of where different council members are falling and how they want to spend that money. And if we can't come to any agreement on how to spend that, then how do we move forward? So I really think we also need to have that more in-depth conversation.
And you want that the 13th, your thoughts are the 13th?
Well,
I think before we get too far into the process, we should.
Yeah, but you already have interviewed the people by then, because you'll interview them the day of the interview them the 13th before the council meeting.
I mean, we kind of have to commit, right? What's the point of interviewing these folks if then we turn around and say, never mind?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that there are I would agree, There are very different expectations or assumptions.
And I guess my view was that this consultant or person, whoever you'd hire, would help you work through that.
Exactly.
Maybe.
It's part of
I
the
mean,
process.
if they didn't, it's not worth hiring them if they're not going to be able to do that.
They'd start from square one, which is, let's get to know the council members and see where they're at. I mean, Randy he's, like he has said, he's running the city. Not trying to figure out what council members want to do with the ARPA money.
So I'm hearing, at this point, on the 13th study session, we talk to the top two ones, and then we make a decision whether we pursue one or the other of them, or neither.
Or neither.
And if we do neither, then we have to sit down and talk, and we would do that then the next meeting, or whatever it is, to start talking about how the council members would prioritize spending it.
I think before we make the decision, we have to have this conversation of our expectations, what we want to do with this money.
Yeah, hopefully that if we do pick a firm, that they would help us do that. That's the idea of paying them.
And I think if we pick the top two
Yes.
and have them come in for a study session to present and talk,
Yes.
and they stay for the council meeting, and we have a discussion at the council meeting on what our thoughts are, then both groups will be able to hear the discussion, see where we're at, and then whoever we pick already has that groundwork behind them,
If we pick anybody, yes.
if we pick one of them.
Well, and the other thing too, so I'm not necessarily interested in them coming and just doing a presentation on what they proposed. I'm like, okay, we can read that. To me, that's,
Right.
you know,
That's where we start the negotiation, so to speak, you know, saying,
Yeah,
wait a
just-
minute, you took this too far, we think that this is.
I don't feel like they need to present their proposal all over again.
We read it.
Right, we read them.
Yeah. I mean, I have my list of questions, you know.
Yeah, if you could send me questions, we can give those to them ahead of time, and so they can even prepare something.
I mean, I would also like to know, if we select a planner, or whatever the entity we're gonna call, that's familiar with long-term community recovery plans, maybe they can help answer some of these questions that we're having, because I don't know anything about long-term community recovery plans, other than FEMA recommended them, right? So maybe some of these questions can be cleared up by somebody who's more familiar on the subject matter, explaining it. And then we might realize that we're not actually in disagreement here, and that through the whatever process, that's how you can resolve it.
I guess my focus would be not so much on that long-term recovery plan, but facilitating the public input of the impacts, and then, okay, offer some solutions as well, and doing the same thing with council versus,
That is what I understand.
Right.
That's what I'm
But-
calling a long-term recovery plan.
Yes.
I think we might be talking about the same thing,
Right.
just using different words.
but then I think in some of their proposals, the writing of a plan per se, that could be very time-consuming and add up, where it could be boiled down into something simpler, maybe.
And see, I don't want to pay for an executive director, a program director, a program manager, an assistant,
An expert.
administrative assistant, an expert, and I mean, I don't want to pay for a team. I just think that that's a waste of money.
I think we can expound on that with those groups. We can do that, and once again, because I really think what their thoughts are in that, and I've seen accountants do this and everything else, is that the chief accountant's hourly rate so high, writing the report, I'm gonna have somebody under me do that, and that's where they show all the different rates, and they don't know the timing. That's where I think that we can work on talking to them and clarifying some of that, what we're looking for, and see if that can be honed down. It's one individual or whatever it is that's going to help facilitate it and facilitate public meetings, facilitate the council meeting to work on those priorities and consolidate it. It's almost like strategic planning. I think they have a facilitator to be able to be involved with it and help wordsmith it and consolidate it because some people say the same thing but say it differently but want the same thing. And somebody that's tuned to that can interpret that and work with that. 'Cause I don't know if that's makes sense. I went around there with that, but I think that it's worth talking to them and see if we can narrow the focus down.
Well, yeah, and go beyond just asking people, how have you been impacted?
That's right.
Because, yeah.
Because there's a lot of things, I mean, once again, it's not just impacted, once again, don't want to narrow it down, it could be brand-new things that happen. It's once again, it's a recovery, it's not just those that have been
Right.
impacted.
Right.
You could, once again, it could be something brand-new happening in economic development that is part of recovery. That's part of recovery, is new things, not just current issues that were affected. And that's where we got to look at the return on investment.
That's the key second question. And a lot of the proposals focus just on the first one. How have you been impacted by
Right.
COVID? Oh, okay, that will identify your priorities for spending. And I'm like, no.
Right, there's new things that maybe we haven't thought about that are out there, and opportunities that do that work that is acceptable for the expenditure, that helps drive us in the future also, long-term thinking. But, so I think that's where we'd have to, make sure that they're not focused just on how anybody's affected, and I lost wages or whatever it is. They'll be too narrow. Are we on consensus of this, so we can walk away from this, that everybody turns in their top four, we'll take the, we'll go.
Yeah, in order, priority order.
In priority order.
You're sending out a rating sheet then, right?
I did send one out already, I can send it out again, or you can use that to figure your top four, you can just tell me what your top four are, however you come up with that.
Yeah, I didn't send any questions to you to send to them.
You may just have a top one,
Right.
right? I mean, you may not have four, sounds like you probably don't.
And we're setting
So only give me the people you actually want to interview, how about that?
we're self-imposing a deadline to get to you by Friday.
Why don't we do it can you do it by when? How about Thursday? End of day
Thursday works for
Thursday.
me.
Then Friday, I can send out the information to everybody, whoever's going to present.
Okay. Tomorrow, beginning at 5 or 5:30 at Two Rivers United Methodist, Nest Cafe will be having one of their meals. If you show up at 5:30, I'll buy your dinner, council members.
There you go. And I'm going to do a quick shout out. Jerry Jones is in the room, but his daughter, once again, was recognized Thursday. The mural and the art that's going to be in D.C. and everything else. But, and unfortunately, I couldn't be there. I apologize. But I wanted to publicly in this format say, congratulations. You ought to be a proud father. You've done a great job. So thank you. It's wonderful. And if anybody here hasn't seen it, they ought to go down and look at the mural right off 20th Street there by Leo's Shoe Repair. It's a great thing, and so it's just, we should be proud of those things. And thank you, Jerry. Thank your daughter. Anybody else for the good? Oh,
Can I just do one thing? I'm going to send out a strategic planning email on those dates that everyone selected. Not everyone can be at every date. That's just the way it worked out, so I'm going to send it out, and if you can give me your feedback, when you get it. If you don't, then I'll assume it's fine.
Thank you.
And I'll book those this week also, but not everyone can make it to every date. That's just the way it is. But there's 5 dates, so plenty of time.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, I assume there's no discussion, because I won't even ask, no. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Coolis.
Aye.
Geeman.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Okay.